Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Bitcoin. Before we jump into the price action, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below in the comment section. Also in the description below you'll find a link to Discord. Come check it out, it is free to join. Okay, so we were talking about a couple of options within the structure here. We were talking about the possibility this could actually be complete because it's actually met the requirement for a fifth wave, though we did have a count where we were looking for an additional leg to the upside. So there's a couple of things we need to discuss within this. You know, this sideways ranging motion here, it's not really what you want to see for an additional push-up. You want to see some good impulsive structure. So it's making me believe, and the fact it's getting quite large now, you know, it's not really matching anything within this upwards cycle that we had here. So it is possible that this in itself is a corrective structure, and then we actually look for either a bigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or alternatively this is completed here, and we could actually be starting to look to break down here. So we're going to discuss this. So what we'd be looking for here effectively would be, we were looking at a couple of options. So we were looking for the possibility of having this extension. And for the most part, we can actually argue, like, okay, so we're going to discuss something here, which it's not my favorite interpretation of this, but we can argue that there could have been a diagonal in this position like this, where this becomes a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So this would have been an A, B. So this would have been a 5-wave structure here. So this is an A, this is a B wave triangle, A, B, C, D, E for a triangle, and then that continuation. So for the most part, this is possible. It's not very tidy though, and I don't really like it. So we just need to bear in mind that it is possible we could say that this wave 1 ended here. Or alternatively, we could be looking to form a bigger structure here, where this becomes a 1, 2, and then we look to push up. So looking at that in isolation, what we'd be looking for is something like this, where actually we'd be looking for a potential of this as a wave 1, looking at this as a wave 2, potentially completed because it came into the 618 range, and then looking at this potentially to become a 1, 2, and then start to push up for a wave 3. So if this is the case, what we'd be looking for would be basically to hold this zone here of this 786. So this 23,996. If we start to break down below that, then potentially what we'd rather be looking at is for that continuation. And the way that I'd be looking at this move then is that potentially we have this as a wave into here. This is a B, and then we're breaking down for a C, or alternatively it could form a bigger impulsive structure where what we get is something, we'll go over the bearish scenario in a second, but we could get something where this becomes a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 to the downside, and then we have this either as a bigger just a bigger ABC pattern to the downside, or alternatively it could develop into something a bit more sinister. So let's talk about that potential. So like I said, it is possible we can look at this, but it's not really my favorite interpretation of it. We were also talking about the possibility of having a bigger fifth wave here, where we're looking at this as a wave 1 into this high, and then we're actually looking at this whole thing as a corrective structure here. So this is still a possibility. We can also potentially argue that this has become a bigger triangle here, where we're going to form something like this. It's not ideal, but something to this effect, where actually what we do is we look at this as an A, B, C, D, and an E. If this is the case, effectively we don't want to cross this low point here again, which would be this 23,841 and this 25,19192. We don't want to cross that zone. We would actually want to just stay contained within these lines, and then sort of move more range bound here. So if we do just sort of mosey on sideways here and we don't actually get anywhere up or down, this is a possibility that we could be looking out for. The problem is if we do get a triangle here, it wouldn't be able to be a wave 2. So we'd have to either argue that, and like I said, you know, this move's getting quite large for anything within here. So my initial thought would be then that potentially we could actually be looking to complete as a diagonal where this becomes a wave 1. where we get this as a ABC pattern for wave 1 of a diagonal. And what we'd be looking for then would effectively be looking for the possibility of actually moving up towards this zone of this 1-to-1, which would be this 27,597. So we can also see that's the top end of this range here, which we were talking about a long time ago, which would be for a flat correction. So this could be an area we actually look to push up into, and then that could be that 1-to-1 sort of done. And then what we'd be looking for is basically to see some continuation here in a 3-wave move to the downside, and then another 3-wave move to the upside, and then basically sort of continuing like this until we form a wedge completed in 5 moves as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that would actually look to break down. So at the moment it's very choppy. For as long as we hold above these zones, so this 23,844, we can look for a potential of a triangle as long as we don't cross above this 25,189. If we do, then we would have to look at that possibility that this has become a 1-2, and then we'd want to see this move up and start to become more impulsive here. But it is really struggling around this zone here, and yeah, it's moved back up into this channel which we had a long time ago, and effectively you can see how sometimes these things happen where we actually do move back into the channel, and then we do find resistance and support at the channel again. You can even see here on the 50% line, it does seem to be offering some resistance. So these are all sort of key areas that could indicate a rejection here, and I actually look to push down. So this would be the support zone that we would want to hold if we're looking for a bigger structure here to the upside, where actually we're looking for this bigger 5-wave move. And what we'd want to see is effectively a move back down here into this zone, and then looking for this push to the upside, which could actually look to push us up towards this 31,843 if it does play out, to this 30,613. So that would be viable for as long as we hold this zone, this 23,242 to this 22,127. So the way we'd be looking at that effectively, we'd have to look at this move as an ABC pattern here to the downside, and what we'd be looking for effectively would be like we'd have to look at this potentially as a W, an X, and a Y, unless we get a 5-wave move here, in which case it could become an ABC pattern. Actually, I'm going to leave it as an ABC because I do have a feeling it's going to be there's going to be potentially something sneaky going on here. But yeah, there's no confirmation. What I am looking out for is the possibility that, we can also argue that we have something like this playing out, where we actually have this as a completed move here. This becomes a flat correction in this zone, and we actually look to break down for a 3rd-wave move. So confirmation for that would only come by actually moving down lower here, and off of the current structure, we'd have to move past this 23,100. If we did get a breakdown here, what we'd be then looking for is that additional 4th and a 5th wave to the downside, which could look to actually take us into this zone down here of this 22,969 to this 22,763. So we can see that this would be an interesting little pocket here that would potentially bring us into this zone here of this typical B wave location. It would actually bring us right down into this 0.618 if it does play out something like this. But like I said, really until we start to lose these lows here, we can't ignore the fact that this could just move directly up. If we did move down like this, we'd need to be careful how deep we move, because if we were looking at that possibility of a deeper move to the downside, we can also argue that this 5-wave structure, actually let me turn off the corrective count. If we do get a deeper move down here as a 5-wave move, we could be looking for the potential to actually start developing a bigger 3rd wave here. So we're talking about this from here, looking at this as a 1-2, and then looking actually for that potential to break down for that 3rd wave. The problem that we would have here is if we did form a structure like this, there wouldn't be much space for this 4th, and it would actually look to potentially invalidate on the retracement unless it was a very sideways move. So yeah, this is something we'd have to keep an eye on. If we do start to break down impulsively here, what we could be looking for is one of two options. We could look at the possibility of setting up a 1-2, then we set up another 1-2, and then actually we start to break down deeper and look to target out a deeper retracement within this. The 1618, like I said, wouldn't really give us a lot of space for this fourth. But if we did move down more towards this 2618, we can see then that we would have some space for this fourth wave, and potentially it would actually come back and retest some of these zones over here, and then actually look to break down deeper. So this is something that could be quite an interesting zone if we do look to push much deeper within the structure. Alternatively, if we do move down to this 21177 area, what we need to be on the lookout for is we could actually just form a more sideways structure like this, where it doesn't actually retrace much in price, but more in time. We just sort of remain range bound here and form something like a triangle or something to that, so that it limits the amount of depth that the fourth wave moves. So yeah, there's a couple of possibilities here, but really until we actually start to break these support zones, I am still looking at that potential to push up one more time. But yeah, once we start to lose these key areas of structure, then it starts becoming sort of likely that we are looking for this continuation to the downside, and that's looking for that possibility of actually starting this bigger three-wave structure to the downside, looking for the possibility of actually coming back and retesting some of these areas of support for a B wave or a sort of a wave 2. So it depends how we want to look at the structure. At the moment, all we have is 5-wave move. We also talked about the possibility that this could still be a flat for a fourth, so we need to be careful that when we start to break down here, this doesn't develop into something much bigger and we actually start to break down much harder. So we'll have to keep an eye on the structure, but it should give us an indication once we start to get around at some of these key areas. I am still anticipating a pullback into the zone here of these key zones, this 20,757 area to this 17,104. If we start to lose these key zones, then it becomes more likely that actually we are still looking for that additional wave to the downside, and then we could actually be looking to set a new low here and potentially look to push down much deeper one more time. If that does happen, it should be in a 5-wave structure, so that's why I'm just monitoring off this high. Whether we can start to argue we're getting some 5-wave structure, there's not enough to confirm it yet, and really this could just remain range bound here and form that triangle like we said, and then potentially look to push up for a B, C, or alternatively. The problem is looking at this as a fourth is too big now, in my opinion. I want to just treat this as a separate move. This is a completed move here, and then potentially this is looking to continue this move up, or alternatively it's going to be a connector wave in here and it's going to be a triangle, and then we actually just push up one more time in another 5-wave move here to form the wave 1. There's no other way really of looking at it from here that I can see at the moment. Can argue that potentially it's a B wave in the opposite direction, but yeah, I mean we also need to be aware we can start to talk about things like this where we have an inverse head and shoulders forming here. If we did move down one more time, it's not great structure on this side, but yeah, it's something worth keeping an eye on. If we do have a move like this, we could look to actually break to the upside here, and that would probably tie in quite nicely with that idea of actually forming that push one more time here for a diagonal, where this becomes a ABC. Then we'd have that as a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and then potentially that could look to complete our move. Yeah. So that's what we're going to keep an eye out for. Basically, like I said, at the moment there's not enough information here within the waves. This could really go either way. But if we do maintain these key zones, we can still look for that push to the upside. However, starting to lose them, we'd have to start to be careful of the potential of actually breaking down. But really, for as long as we hold the support zone of this bigger 5th wave here, this 23,242 to this 22,127. I am still looking for the possibility that we could actually push up, but we need to be aware that this has met all the targets at this point. So if we do start to break down deeper here, we'd potentially be looking at this being a completed move. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. In the description below, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Also in the description below, you'll find affiliate links for both PrimeXBT and BYBIT, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. Check them out if you don't have an account. Using the affiliate link does help support the channel. Okay, so we'll leave it there, everyone. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.